We can bring in David Camroux, a senior researcher at Sciences Po and a specialist on Southeast Asia. David, thank you so much for joining us on the program today. Now, as we
Good
heard
morning,
there
my
in
pleasure.
this report, these are the first elections since the military seized power in a coup 5 years ago. They've kind of cracked down on dissent ahead of the vote. So why now, and really, actually, why hold elections at all?
Well, there are several reasons. The first is the elections were promised 6 months after the coup, and there's been a state of emergency for the last 5 years. So it's finally occurring. Why now? A year ago, it looked as if the junta was on its last legs. A year ago, it looked, there were articles saying this was the beginning of the end of the military. And what has happened since is China has intervened. China is the kingmaker in all of this process. It's China who's pushed for these elections to be held. It stopped the double game it used to play before, which was providing arms through some of its puppet ethnic groups, the Tang National Army, for example. It stopped providing weaponry to the resistance. The military has learned a few lessons, has become better organized. They've brought in conscripts. They're using drones supplied by Russia and China. So they've taken back the initiative, so to speak. So it appears this is the right time for the military. Now, the elections, the first thing to be noted is the elections are being held under the 2008 Constitution. That Constitution gives 25% of the seats before the voting begins go to the military. So the military, even before anybody starts voting, already has 25% of the seats in the parliament. The elections over 3 phases. They'll be held at approximately 270 townships out of the 330 that Myanmar comprises. But again, one has to be very careful about this because in some of those areas, voting will probably occur in military barracks. That'll be the only place where people can vote. People are being coerced to vote. The election is a scam. It will not be fair. It will not be free. The main opposition party, the National League for Democracy, is banned. The party close to the military, the USDP, is only one of 5 parties that have candidates nationally. There are 51 parties competing, but most of those are small parties from ethnic groups. So, we know the result before it's even held, because even if not everybody votes and not all of those areas can vote, the military will get its majority in the parliament. The junta will get its majority with the 25% for the military, and the other that will be elected.
Now, David, as you mentioned there, if it's already sort of a foregone conclusion that the military is going to come out on top of this election, what else are they hoping to gain from this?
Well, they want some degree of legitimacy. The Min Lung, the leader of the junta, wants to take off his uniform and put on not a suit but a traditional dress. They want to, they want to have a degree of recognition. But this is really about playing to the gallery. It's about playing to the local gallery, that is China, India, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia. It's not about trying to please the Western world. It's about getting that degree of legitimacy. ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, has got other problems at the moment, for example, with the war between Thailand and Cambodia. In the region, they just want some kind of degree, some civilian government, no matter how fake, to emerge, and then to get on, to get back to life as usual. Unfortunately, the West has not been helpful. It's not done anything really to help the National Unity Government, which is a government in exile. The National Unity Government itself is not being helped itself much. It doesn't have control of the People's Defense Forces that are fighting the military. It is not well coordinated with the ethnic armed groups. So what we're heading for is a kind of fragmented Myanmar, where there will be a civilian government in the areas controlled by the military. But outside, the war with ethnic groups will continue. There will be the attempt to sign peacefires, probably between the government that will emerge. But it's a rather distressing and bleak situation that we are entering into. This is the first phase of the election. We'll have the final results at the end of January after the next two phases. But it is one in which the hopes of the resistance of even a year ago, when they had a series of military victories, have now been dashed.
Now, David, I want to talk a little bit about the people there in Myanmar, because they are the ones who are suffering. They're being bombed. The economy has basically flatlined since the coup there. So how do they feel about this election? I mean, they're forced to take part, but do any of them see that something good might come out of this, or are they just sort of done with the whole situation?
It varies. Those who are hardline in the resistance want to continue the struggle. Those in the refugee camps, in the borders, and particularly in Thailand, some of those people want to return. There's a kind of a degree of resignation, I think, in some parts of Myanmar, that let's get this, okay, there'll be some form of civilian government. So many times the hopes for democracy in Myanmar have been dashed. 1988, 2008, 2020. So there's a sense, well, we'll deal with this situation, and maybe something good will emerge. Maybe it will take time, but there's a degree of, I think, in French we say lassitude. There's a degree of tiredness with the continuing struggle. It has been 5 years since the coup, and the international community has been totally hopeless. The time to intervene was immediately after the coup, when there were peaceful demonstrations which were suppressed by the military. It wasn't done. The military has bought time. That's what they wanted with ASEAN, the 5-point consensus of 25th of April 2021. And in the process of at least temporarily achieving their objectives.
David, thank you so much for sharing your analysis with this. We'll be following this story, waiting for the results at the end of the month. That's David Camroux, a senior researcher at Sciences Po.